talk about the season a little bit because the Canucks now are at 500. They've had a couple days off here away from games. They're going to get back at it tomorrow night. 500 is an interesting thing to see where the Canucks are at up to this point, 27 games into the season. They've got a 12-12-3 record. What has gotten them to 500 after losing their first 7 games of the season? I'm going to get started with having some nice wins in the pro scouting department to get them to this point. I'm going to throw out 4 names and you can go whichever direction you want to go here. Dakota Joshua, Ethan Bear, Neil Zaman, Ilya Mikheyev. Which one do you kind of want to start with here? Let's say which one is, and you can take context into this of what you have to pay them, what the contract is, or how they were acquired, whether it be a trade or the contract. But which is the biggest win of Mikheyev, Amon, Bear, and Joshua to this point in the season, at least?
To this point, I'd say Mikheyev might come as a bit of a surprise because I think from a value perspective, you could definitely argue Bear or Joshua, but Mikheyev, it just feels like every time the teams needed a third period goal or a spark in a situation where the team doesn't have much life, that he's kind of been the one to give them that.
It really comes out of nowhere with Mikheyev a lot of the time, yeah.
Right? And think about the moments where he's sort of broken through offensively. Seattle game, which was their first win of the season, at a time where the team was totally spiraling. You think about the San Jose game in late November, where they came from behind in that third period. That third period, by the way, where they were able to tie it and then win in overtime eventually, thanks to Kuzmenko. They were gassed because it was 3 games in 4 nights, second half of a back-to-back. The third period is always what kills you, and that Pettersson line was the only one that was going. It was the only reason that the Canucks got 2 points out of it. Mikheyev and Pettersson came through clutch there. You think about the comeback against Montreal. Obviously, Mikheyev was a huge part of that as well. So it feels like his ability to not only contribute with his speed, with his two-way value, but also now actually being able to bury the puck in the back of the net, which was one of the biggest question marks, was could he deliver enough offense to justify a near $5 million cap hit and justify a permanent top 6 role? I think that's been a huge difference maker, especially the opportune moments where he stepped up.
I'm going to go with Ethan Bear, I think, for mine, because I think Ethan Bear right now, if you're picking defensemen in like a draft of what you want to do in a team for this Canucks squad only, like Bear's my second guy. I'm probably going with him number 2, whether it be cap space value or just in general, second best defenseman on the ice. There was a time in that game, the most recent one against the Sharks, late in the game when they had Ethan Bear playing with Quinn Hughes. And I was thinking in my mind, I was like, is this the best puck moving defenseman that Hughes has had over his career? And listen, I like, you could say that like Chris Tanev at the time was good. It was a calming influence for sure. But I saw how much space Ethan Bear was able to get on the ice when Quinn Hughes was his partner. And I was like, wow, these are really easy breakout passes for Bear in this situation, because he's able to just like do that, make that pass. And I think back to when the Canucks were down a couple of years ago when they were losing, they would play Tyler Myers and Quinn Hughes late in games to try and get a little bit of offense going. And you wouldn't see the consistent, simple passes from Myers, but you're seeing that with Bear. He's also kind of just elevated what the pairing of OEL was at the start of the season, when it was just an absolute mess for OEL. He's lifted him out of, at least a little bit of the slump. I think OEL didn't have a great game last game, but it's just Ethan Bear he's made his mistakes. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he has been, to me, the second best defenseman here. And to know the value that you had to give up to get Bear just being a late round pick, like you're feeling pretty good about that in the pro scouting department as well, being able to go out and get that player who, it sounded like the way that Jim Rutherford talked about it, it was like months in the making. And I think that was kind of clear that Bear wasn't getting some time on Carolina, but he's come in and really, I think, has been the piece that I've liked for the value that you had to give up to get him. And it'll be interesting to see what they do moving forward with him in a contract next year.